While I was at my office, a surprising email from Mark appeared. I quickly called him, and to my shock, he calmly said, "Laura, I found someone else and decided to start a new life with her." He also mentioned he was taking the camper van we bought in my name with a loan. Despite my pleas, Mark ended the call abruptly and became unreachable. In the end, he vanished with his new partner, leaving behind a significant debt. My name's Laura, and at 34, life in our small town seemed predictable. I worked at a local company, balancing my role as a project manager with being a mom to my bright 11-year-old son, Jake. My husband, Mark, 2 years older than me, had always been a bit of a drifter, moving from job to job, searching for something more fulfilling. Our home was a modest, comfortable space filled with the laughter and chaos that comes with raising an inquisitive child. Jake, with his boundless curiosity, often filled our evenings with questions about everything from dinosaurs to distant galaxies. I cherished these moments, finding solace in his youthful wonder. Mark, on the other hand, seemed restless. Over the years, his inability to settle into a stable career had become a strain. Despite this, he had recently held a steady job for a while, and his talk of creating family memories had rekindled a sense of hope in me. We had even decided to buy a camper van, dreaming of spontaneous road trips and adventures. One sunny afternoon, as I sat at my desk at work, an unexpected email notification broke my concentration. It was from Mark. My heart skipped a beat, something about the abruptness felt off. I opened the email, and as I read his words, my world shifted. Mark had fallen for someone else, and he was leaving to start a new life with her. The shock was paralyzing. I glanced around my small office, the papers and files suddenly seeming insignificant compared to the emotional storm brewing inside me. I took a deep breath and reached for my phone, my fingers trembling as I dialed his number. "Mark, what's going on?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. His response was calm, almost rehearsed. "Laura, I've met someone. I didn't plan for this, but it's serious and I've decided to be with her." "And the camper van? The loan is in my name," I reminded him, desperation creeping into my voice. "I'll take care of it," he replied dismissively. "Goodbye, Laura." The call ended abruptly, leaving me with a silence that felt deafening. I was alone, left to navigate the fallout for both myself and Jake. My mind raced, grappling with the betrayal and the looming financial burden. I knew I had to stay strong for Jake, but in that moment, strength felt like a distant concept, as elusive as the dreams Mark and I had once shared. Returning home that evening, the weight of Mark's words pressed heavily on my shoulders. The familiar warmth of our small town seemed unchanged, but everything felt different now. As I opened the door, Jake greeted me with his usual enthusiasm, a school project in hand and a million questions about the universe ready to spill out. "Mom, did you know that stars can live for billions of years?" he asked, his eyes wide with curiosity. I mustered a smile, trying to push aside the turmoil inside me. "That's amazing, Jake. You'll have to tell me all about it later." As he returned to his homework, I sat down at the kitchen table, the reality of our situation sinking in. Mark's unexpected departure had left us in a precarious position. The camper van, a symbol of our dreams, was now a financial burden with the loan solely in my name. I needed to figure out our next steps, but my mind was clouded with uncertainty. How would I manage the repayments on my salary alone? And more importantly, how would I explain this to Jake without shattering his world? The phone rang, jolting me from my thoughts. It was Sarah, my closest friend and confidant. She had a way of knowing when I needed support, and tonight was no exception. "Laura, you sound off. Is everything okay?" she asked, concern evident in her voice. I hesitated, the words catching in my throat, but I knew I needed to share this burden. "Mark's gone, Sarah. He left us, and there's a loan for the camper van in my name." There was a brief silence as she absorbed the news. "Oh, Laura, I'm so sorry. What can I do to help?" Just hearing her offer comfort brought a sense of relief. "I'm not sure yet. I just need to figure out how to tell Jake." "You're strong, Laura. You'll get through this," she assured me. After hanging up, I felt a flicker of resolve. I knew I couldn't hide the truth from Jake much longer. He was perceptive, and it wouldn't be long before he sensed something was amiss. That night, as I tucked Jake into bed, he looked up at me with those same inquisitive eyes. Mom, is everything okay? You seem different. I took a deep breath, knowing it was time to be honest. Jake, there's something we need to talk about. Things are going to change, but we'll face it together. His small hand reached for mine, offering a comforting squeeze. In that moment, I realized that no matter what lay ahead, we had each other, and that was a start. That night, after my conversation with Jake, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thoughts swirling like a storm. The reality of Mark's departure and the looming debt felt overwhelming. As the first light of dawn crept through the curtains, I resolved to tackle the challenges head-on, for both Jake and myself. At work the next day, I found it difficult to concentrate, my mind constantly wandering back to the financial burden now resting solely on my shoulders. During lunch, I reviewed the loan documents for the camper van, trying to make sense of the numbers that seemed to mock my predicament. I knew I needed a plan, but the path forward felt uncertain. Returning home, I was greeted by Jake, who was busy crafting something at the kitchen table. His innocent enthusiasm was infectious, momentarily lifting the weight I carried. "Mom, look, I made a solar system model for science class," he exclaimed, his eyes shining with pride. Admiring his handiwork, I felt a surge of determination. If Jake could face his challenges with such positivity, then I could too. "It's fantastic, Jake. You did a great job," I praised, ruffling his hair. That evening, after Jake was asleep, I sat down with a notebook, attempting to outline a plan. I listed our monthly expenses and considered ways to cut costs. Perhaps we could reduce dining out or cancel unnecessary subscriptions. Every little bit would help. As I worked through the numbers, I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. Mark's actions had not only shattered our family but had also left us vulnerable and exposed. Yet I was determined not to let his choices define our future. The following morning, Sarah stopped by with coffee and a sympathetic ear. We sat on the porch, the morning sun casting a warm glow around us. "How are you holding up?" she asked, her concern genuine. "It's tough," I admitted, taking a sip of coffee, "but I'm trying to figure it out one step at a time." Sarah nodded, offering a reassuring smile. "You're not alone, Laura. We're all here for you." Her words were a comfort, reminding me of the support network I had. As we talked, I shared my ideas for managing the debt and the adjustments I was considering. Sarah listened, offering practical suggestions and encouragement. That afternoon, as I picked up Jake from school, he seemed unusually quiet. On the drive home, he finally spoke up. "Mom, I know things are different now, but we're going to be okay, right?" I glanced at him, his earnest expression reflecting a maturity beyond his years. "Yes, Jake, we're going to be just fine. It's going to take some work, but we'll get through it together." That night, as we sat down for dinner, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. Jake's resilience was a beacon, guiding me through the uncertainty. We talked about our day, shared stories, and left a reminder that despite the challenges, we still had each other. Before bed, Jake approached me with a thoughtful look. "Mom, maybe we can have a garage sale. I have some toys I don't play with anymore, and we could use the money." His suggestion was simple but practical, and it warmed my heart. "That's a great idea, Jake. Every bit helps." As I tucked him in, I realized that while the road ahead might be daunting, we were not alone. With determination, support from friends like Sarah, and Jake's unwavering optimism, I felt ready to face whatever came next. Together, we would navigate this new chapter, building a future grounded in hope and resilience. As the weekend approached, I found myself thinking more about Jake's suggestion of a garage sale. It seemed like a practical way to start tackling the financial challenge, and I realized it could also be a therapeutic exercise and opportunity to clear out the old and make space for the new. Saturday morning dawned bright and clear. Jake was already buzzing with excitement, sorting through his toys and books, setting aside those he no longer needed. His enthusiasm was infectious, and soon I was diving into closets and cupboards, discovering items I hadn't touched in years. Each item told a story, but I knew it was time to let go. "Mom, do you think anyone would want this?" Jake asked, holding up an old board game. "Absolutely," I replied, smiling. "There's always someone looking for a new adventure." We spent the morning organizing everything on tables in the front yard. Neighbors wandered over, curious about the commotion, and soon the yard was filled with people chatting and browsing. It was more than just a sale. It felt like a community gathering, a reminder that we weren't alone in this journey. As I watched Jake confidently negotiate with a neighbor over a set of toy cars, I felt a swell of pride. His resilience and adaptability were inspiring, and it gave me hope that we could weather this storm together. In the midst of the sale, Sarah stopped by, her arms laden with baked goods. "Thought these might keep everyone's energy up," she said, winking as she set the treats on a table. "Thanks, Sarah. You're a lifesaver," I replied, grateful for her unwavering support. The day passed quickly, and as the sun dipped lower in the sky, the tables were noticeably emptier. We had sold more than I anticipated, and the small pile of cash was a tangible reminder of our efforts. That evening, as Jake and I sat on the porch, counting our earnings, I felt a sense of accomplishment. It wasn't just about the money, it was about taking control and finding ways to move forward, step by step. "Look, Mom, we did it," Jake exclaimed, his eyes shining with pride. "We sure did," I agreed, ruffling his hair. "And this is just the beginning." As we talked, I realized how much I had underestimated Jake's ability to handle change. He had faced the upheaval with a maturity beyond his years, and his optimism was a constant source of strength for me. "Maybe we can save some of this for a small adventure," Jake suggested, his mind already racing with possibilities. "That sounds like a great plan," I said, nodding. "We'll figure out something special." That night, as I tucked Jake into bed, I felt a renewed sense of hope. The garage sale had been a small victory, but it symbolized so much more: a turning point, a step toward rebuilding our lives. Lying in bed, I reflected on the day, on the support from friends like Sarah, and on Jake's unwavering spirit. I knew the journey ahead would still have its challenges, but I was confident that together, we could face whatever came our way. With determination and the love of those around us, we were ready to embrace this new chapter, one day at a time. As the days passed after our successful garage sale, I found myself more determined to address the financial burden left by Mark. With a small boost from the sale, I began to look for additional ways to stabilize our situation. Jake's resilience and optimism had sparked a new energy in me, and I was ready to tackle the challenges head-on. One afternoon, while sorting through bills at the kitchen table, Jake wandered in, curiosity evident in his eyes. "Mom, how are we going to get the camper van back?" he asked, his voice filled with genuine concern. I paused, looking up from the papers. His question was valid, and I realized it was time to involve him in the plan. "Well, Jake," I began, "the camper van is still in my name, which means we have a little leverage." Jake nodded, processing my words. "So we can get it back?" "Possibly," I replied, encouraged by his understanding. "We just need to be smart about it." Inspired by his confidence, I decided to contact the finance company for advice. After a few phone calls, I learned that we had legal grounds to reclaim the van due to the loan being in my name. This revelation felt like a small victory, a step toward regaining control over our lives. That evening, as we sat down for dinner, I shared the news with Jake. "We might be able to get the camper van back," I told him, watching his face light up with hope. "Really? That's awesome, Mom!" he exclaimed, a smile spreading across his face. His excitement was infectious, and I felt a renewed sense of determination. "It's going to take some work, but I think we can do it," I assured him. With a plan in place, we spent the next few days gathering necessary documents and preparing to meet with the finance company. Throughout the process, Jake remained by my side, offering encouragement and support. His maturity and insight amazed me, reinforcing my belief that we could weather this storm together. As we approached the meeting day, I felt a mix of nerves and anticipation, but I knew that with Jake's support and the backing of our community, we were not alone in this fight. We were ready to reclaim what was ours and pave the way for a brighter future. Together, we were not just surviving, we were rebuilding, one step at a time. The journey was far from over, but with each passing day, I grew more confident in our ability to overcome any obstacle. Jake and I were a team, and together we could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The morning of our meeting with the finance company arrived, and I felt a mix of anticipation and determination. Over breakfast, Jake and I reviewed the documents one last time, his youthful optimism bolstering my resolve. As we prepared to leave, he looked up at me with a confident smile. "Mom, we've got this," he said, his voice steady. "Absolutely," I replied, feeling grateful for his support. Together, we headed to the finance company, ready to make our case. The office buzzed with activity, a reminder of the business-like world we were stepping into. As we waited for our appointment, I couldn't help but feel a flutter of nerves. But Jake's presence beside me was a calming force, grounding me in the moment. When we were finally called in, I laid out our situation to the representative, explaining how the loan was in my name and detailing the circumstances surrounding Mark's departure. The representative listened intently, nodding as I spoke. Jake chimed in, his voice clear and confident. "We just want to make things right and get back what's ours." The representative seemed impressed by Jake's maturity, and after a brief discussion, she agreed that we had a valid claim to reclaim the camper van. Relief washed over me, and I squeezed Jake's hand under the table, silently thanking him for his courage. As we left the office, a sense of triumph filled the air. It was a small victory, but it represented so much more a step towards reclaiming our lives and standing up for ourselves. Walking back to the car, Jake looked up at me, his eyes shining with excitement. "We did it, Mom." "Yeah, we did," I replied, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. "I'm so proud of you, Jake. I couldn't have done this without you." His face beamed with pride, and in that moment, I realized how much we had grown as a team. The challenges we faced had strengthened our bond, and together, we were proving that we could handle whatever life threw our way. As we drove home, I reflected on the journey we had embarked upon since Mark's departure. Each step, each small victory, was paving the way for a brighter future. Jake's support and resilience had been a guiding light, and I knew that as long as we faced things together, we would find our way. Our path forward was clear. Continue building on the progress we'd made, tackle each challenge with determination, and embrace the love and support that surrounded us. With Jake by my side, I felt ready to face whatever came next, confident that we were on the right track to a new beginning. Driving back from the finance company, a sense of relief washed over me. Reclaiming the camper van felt like a tangible step toward rebuilding, a victory in the midst of chaos. Jake sat beside me, his eyes gleaming with a mix of triumph and hope. His support had been unwavering, and I couldn't help but feel grateful for the strength we found in each other. As we pulled into the driveway, Jake turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "Mom, do you think we'll go on those trips we talked about?" I smiled, touched by his optimism. "Absolutely, Jake. It might take some time, but we'll make those memories." The next few days were a whirlwind of activity as we began to adjust to our new reality. With the camper van back in our possession, I felt a renewed sense of freedom and possibility. It was a reminder that, despite the setbacks, we were moving forward. Jake and I spent our evenings planning small adventures, mapping out nearby parks and trails we could explore. It was a way to keep our spirits high and focus on the future. The anticipation of new experiences brought a lightness to our days, a welcome distraction from the challenges we faced. One evening, as we sat together reviewing our plans, Jake looked up and said, "You know, I think we're going to be okay." His words resonated deeply, affirming the progress we'd made. "I think so too, Jake. We've got each other, and that's what matters." As we continued to navigate this new chapter, I realized that the journey was about more than just overcoming obstacles. It was about embracing the present, cherishing the support we had, and forging a path forward with hope and resilience. Together, we were not just surviving, we were thriving. As the weeks unfolded, the camper van parked in our driveway became a symbol of new beginnings. With each passing day, Jake and I embraced the idea of turning our dreams into reality. The small victories we had achieved fueled our determination to keep moving forward. One sunny Saturday morning, Jake and I decided to take the van out for a test drive. As we hit the open road, the hum of the engine was like a soothing balm, a reminder of the freedom and adventures that lay ahead. The landscape rolled by in a blur of greens and blues, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of peace. "Where should we go first, Mom?" Jake asked, his enthusiasm infectious. I thought for a moment before replying, "How about the lakeside? We can have a picnic and plan our future trips." Jake's face lit up with excitement. "Sounds perfect." Arriving at the lake, we set up our picnic under a sprawling oak tree. The water shimmered in the sunlight, and laughter from nearby families filled the air. It was a simple moment, but it held a profound sense of promise. As we ate, we talked about the places we wanted to explore, the memories we hoped to create. Each idea was a step toward healing, a way to reclaim our narrative and focus on the positive. "Mom, I think this is just the beginning," Jake said, gazing out at the water. His words resonated with truth. "I believe so too, Jake. We've come a long way and there's so much more ahead." Together, we watched the sun dip below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. In that peaceful moment, I knew we were ready to embrace whatever the future held, strengthened by the journey we had taken together. The story of Laura and Jake demonstrates the power of resilience and family love. Facing unexpected challenges, they not only overcame but grew stronger through unity and determination. The first lesson is to confront difficulties with calmness and planning. No matter how tough the situation, maintaining composure and finding solutions is crucial. Secondly, seek support from loved ones, like Laura and Jake. Sharing burdens and receiving help from friends and family can provide immense strength to overcome any obstacles. Finally, always keep hope alive and find joy in small, everyday moments. Simple activities, like short trips or creating memories with loved ones, can bring joy and motivation to keep moving forward. These lessons can help us face challenges in today's life and build a better future.